All right, so let's talk about reporting bugs. Right, so at some point, we, as QA engineers or even ourselves, we will find defects. Right, it's inevitable. We are humans, and until we don't automate software development, then there will be errors. At some point, we'll have AI also do the development for us. IDEs will become, our looking over our shoulders, and our IDEs will roll their eyes over when they look at our code and suggest ways that it could be written much better. And we press a button, taking their suggestions, and but we're not there yet. We still have a ways out, and certainly we are flawed and will introduce defects. At some point, either ourselves or QA engineers will identify these defects, and it's not only the responsibility of the QA engineer to report bugs; it's also our responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility, right? To identify these defects as early as possible. Identify what their priority is. Right? If we have to jump on that right away, or is this something that is less priority that it's a nice to have and work on it at some other point. So we need to be able to identify these bugs and have enough information for folks to be able to reproduce. Right? The worst bugs are those that come and go, right? That misbehave for a moment, and now it's no longer misbehaving. Those are the worst, right? These sporadic bugs that come and go, and they fix themselves, and there's nothing for us to fix because we cannot reproduce it. Those are the worst, right? Ideally, these are bugs that are reproducible, right? That can be consistently reproduced following a specific set of steps, and when we capture these bugs, when we report them, it's our responsibility to take snapshots or even video or what exactly were you doing when the bug or the defect occurred. Now, these bugs might be low or high impact, right? It might be that something is misspelled or something might look ugly, but it's not really stopping anybody from actually accomplishing their work, right? So not all bugs obviously are the same. So depending on the low impact or maybe how many folks is it affecting? Is it affecting everybody, or maybe only certain folks that might have a very old version of some plugin or some old version of some IE or whatever, and perhaps it's only a small subset of the audience. So all bugs are not the same, right? So we need to capture all these types of information, and then let the team decide when and how and who is going to address these bugs, right? We need to be able to have a process, right, to manage these bugs and decide how we're going to do it. Ideally, you would use tools that are industry-leading tools that would allow you to manipulate or manage these bugs. Ideally, you would be using a tool that you already are familiar with, that you're already using for other parts of the project. For instance, we might be using Jira, since we're already using Jira to capture and manage our issues for documentation purposes, to manage the life cycle. Certainly, it's a good choice to capture bugs and defects. But certainly, there's other choices. We'll be using Jira for describing, assigning, or identifying what the priorities, what the status, and we're going to move these deep bugs from different statuses, from assigning them, viewing them, triaging them, reporting, and then closing them. Typically, we would expect you to report bugs again as verbose as you can be, and you name the bug so that it's easily identifiable, so that one little sentence or one line captures the theme of what went wrong, and then perhaps you might be more verbose in the description, and what is it that went wrong, and then be even more descriptive, capturing the steps to reproduce. This is exactly what I was doing. I logged in as this user. I clicked here. This is what I saw, and this is what I was expected. Right, and also highlight what is it that is wrong. right? What is it that you were expecting, and what is it that you actually got? So point out. It's not necessarily. It's not enough if you say, well, this is what I did. This is what I did. This is what I saw, and I might not have enough information to know that that's actually wrong, right? I might go there and say, yeah, it's actually doing that. Does that mean that it's not broken, or is that what is it that you were expecting, right? So that might give me some idea. Also, some context on who was doing this, what browsers or what operating system, what stack you were using, and then this is the responsibility that this would be assigned to some person who's responsible for this, and then manage the life cycle of whether it being from open, whether it's in progress, whether it's being fixed, or maybe it's a known bug and we decided that we're going to leave it, right? It's not impacting, or we're going to tackle this at some other sprint or some other phase of the application. Now, for deciding what is it that we're actually going to work on, whether we're going to work on a bug now or later, we need to define, and we need to be able to compare different bugs against each other, and at least two variables, right? The severity, how bad is it, right? Do people have a workaround, right? Or are they impeded from doing their job? So obviously, if they can still work, the severity is low. But if they can't complete their job, then certainly the severity is high, right? Also, the priority as measuring what the impact is, right? It's only affecting a few folks or a lot of folks. So depending on the combination of high priority, high severity, typically we'll give that an order of 1. Low severity, high priority 2, high severity but low priority 3, and low severity, low priority. Okay. Some folks might prefer, instead of priority, perhaps frequency. Is this something that happens every single time, or does it happen sporadically from once in a while, right? So here's some examples where with high severities, high priority, this is a major problem affecting most customers. There's service disruption, application is unusable, right? So this is order 1. Or high severity but low priority. It's a major problem, but under certain circumstances, is present only for 4% of the customers, right? Maybe having an outdated browser. They can't work, right? But 96% of the folks can work. So yes, it's very important, but it's not affecting everybody. It's affecting a smaller size of folks, right? That certainly will get to it, but not is not as important as something that would affect everyone. Where the other one is low severity, but is high priority, meaning something that is glaringly ugly or something that is glaringly wrong, but is not affecting folks, right? Maybe something is misspelled horribly, or there's an image that is completely inappropriate, but folks can still work, right? They can get around it and they can still do their job. Certainly we'll get to it. It's obvious that it's wrong. Everybody knows that it's wrong. Everybody can see it, but it's not as important because you can still work. Or low, something that happens sporadically, is not affecting everybody, and we'll get to it at our own leisure. So certainly the team is responsible for periodically meeting every week. Ideally at sprint planning, or perhaps even before sprint planning, the Scrum Master and the project manager and QA. Go through this, and they go through a bug triage phase, right, where they look at all their bugs and start to identify what the priorities are, right, based on, and maybe measure their priority against other things that need to be done, right, and obviously they also would want some feedback from the developers on estimated time of fixing this, right. It might be that we need to redesign the whole part of this to fix it, so it's a major thing. So those also is taking into account. It's high priority, but it's also a very big effort. So it might not make it into the current sprint. It might need to be planned out to have several sprints that might need a redesign of a particular feature. Also identifying who might be best to deal with this, right? And bring them on board and get some feedback from them to how to deal with this. Also maintain some statistics on how many bugs have we been opening this sprint. Maybe make a concerted effort or commitment that we are at this rate of generating these many bugs per sprint, and so make a concerted effort that will reduce the bugs going forward by some amount of time, some amount of percentage every sprint. We make a commitment that we'll reduce sprints by 5% every sprint, right? And make a concerted effort or a commitment, deciding that every sprint we're going to tackle at least 25% of our sprint will be focused on dealing with bugs, right? And perhaps a nice mixture of a sprint might be that, and there might be a 30% mixture of new features that are going to be working. Maybe a 30% mixture of enhancements to existing features, and maybe another 25-30% of bugs or defects that have been accumulating. And so going forward, this is what the new assignments are going to look like. Up the end throughout the rest of the semester, right? That we're going to have a mixture of bugs, of new enhancements. New features and enhancements to something that is already implemented. We'll see more of this going forward, and you'll have more leeway on planning and running real agiles, right? Because up to this point, we have been introducing the different phases of agile, and we haven't yet had a chance to actually run all the different phases, right? As you would for a sprint or 2-week sprint, where you run through all the phases in one single sprint. Since again, academically, we have been introducing the concepts, in every single in new lectures.